All right, Mike. So we are back. I had a pretty decent idea. We go through every single game that I've ever covered on the channel. And basically, your role in this is that you're going to basically name off the games. I gave you a list. You can start from the top. I would just start from the top because they're not in order like from the date that I covered them. They're all like mixed up together, which wasn't my intention, but whatever. It is what it is.
hmm
You can just start from the top and then go down. And basically, what's going to happen is you're going to name the game, and I'm just going to say whether the game was good, whether it was bad, or it was somewhere in between. And if I have any commentary on any of the games, then I'll provide some. So feel free to start whenever you're ready.
Yeah, I'm ready right now. We can start it off with Soul Calibur 6,
Good game.
and then just do next one.
Yeah, we're just going to keep going. And if, like I said, if I have any comments or anything, or if I don't have any comments, rather, you can just go to the next one.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so next one, what about Detroit Become Human?
Good game.
Final Fantasy 15?
In between. That game, Final Fantasy 15, it didn't fully live up to it didn't live up to its full potential. Square Enix, they beat around the bush for about a decade. The game was in development for an extended period of time, and they just kept doing strange things and making strange decisions with that game's development. Redesigning characters, removing things that they promised was going to be in the game. The trailers were inconsistent from each other. There were red flags all over the place. That game just, like I said, it didn't live up to its full potential, which is highly disappointing. So, in between.
Okay, what about Marvel Spider-Man?
Good game.
Shadow of the Tomb Raider?
Bad game.
Bloodborne?
Good game, but highly overrated. The thing that a lot of people like about Bloodborne, I think, has a lot to do with its setting. The setting was really the secret factor of that game. And, some of the weapons were pretty cool too, like how they all had their second function or whatever, what have you. I guess another thing with Bloodborne is I remember that game a bit more fondly because it technically was my first Souls game. So I'm not as critical of it as like some of the other ones. But like I said, it was a good game. Just I don't think it's one of the best games of all time or anything like that.
Okay, and what about Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja Storm 4?
Good game.
Watch Dogs?
Good game, but I understand why people don't like it. Ubisoft, they fucked up when they showcased that game at E3. Basically showed a PC port, or a PC version of the game that didn't represent the final product. It came back to bite them in the ass. And they also made a bunch of promises and shit that was supposed to be in the game and didn't really make it into the game, or certain elements made it into the game, but they weren't. They were downplayed or they were reduced from what Ubisoft's initial promises were. But the game itself turned out, like I said, still turned out to be a good game, nonetheless.
Okay, now we have Infamous Second Son.
Good game.
Dark Souls 3?
Good game, but again, highly overrated. I think with Dark Souls 3, because that was my second Souls game that I played, and I already was picking up on the repetition, the pattern and whatnot with From Software, and with each game that they released, and already just from the second game I played from them, I was like, this is just Bloodborne all over again, just with more weapons and different setting, but it's still basically the same thing. I didn't really become truly critical of them until their next game after that, after Dark Souls 3. So,
Okay. Uncharted The Lost Legacy?
good game.
Neo?
Bad game, but I will admit the Neo games are like a guilty pleasure of mine. They're not good games at all, but They have a strange charm to them because they're loot games, and the combat is somewhat decent, like at least the basics of it. So Neo is something that like if I'm like truly bored and I want to play like an RPG, I can put it on and just like mess around with it for a little while just to waste some time. So if I have a guilty pleasure, it would be the Neo games, but just speaking objectively, they're not good games at all.
Okay, we now have the City of Final Fantasy NT.
Bad game, piece of shit.
Witcher 3 Wild Hunt.
Bad game. Although I will say with The Witcher 3, the one saving grace in that game, and the reason why people really like The Witcher 3 is because of the story. The story was good, but the gameplay was so fucking bad that I almost didn't make it through it. Like the fucking combat system, because like it took me a long time to really get through The Witcher 3. Like, because I remember the first time I played it for about 10 minutes and then I put it down and I was like, this shit sucks. And I didn't go back to it for a long time. I kind of forced myself through it, at least like the first quarter of it, before I really started to get into the story. But even then, like I never became a fan of the gameplay. And I know you have a similar story with The Witcher 3.
Yep, absolutely. I couldn't even force myself all the way through.
Yeah,
Maybe about 5 hours, and I gave up. I couldn't do it anymore.
yeah, yeah. I don't blame you.
Okay, Dragon Ball Fighter Z.
Good game.
Injustice 2.
Good game. That's actually my most played game on Steam. I have like 358 hours logged in for Injustice 2. So yeah, that's one of my favorite games for sure.
Okay, Horizon Zero Dawn.
Good game.
Uncharted 4 Thieves In.
Good game.
Titanfall 2.
Good game. One of the best first-person shooters ever made.
Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Good game.
Ratchet and Clank.
Good game, but disappointing. It's because part of that game was that it's like a kind of like a half remake type of thing because it's technically based on the movie, and the movie did somewhat translate the because it's based on the first game in the series. So the movie kind of did adapt some of what took place in the first Ratchet and Clank, but a lot of the first Ratchet and Clank game is missing in both the movie and the game that's based on the movie. So past a certain point in that game, it's a bunch of new shit, and the new stuff is nowhere near as good as what was actually in the original game. So it's not even really a full remake like that. So that's my only problem with it. But good game.
Nier Automata.
Good game, but one of the most overrated ass games of all time. The things that people say about Nier Automata is ridiculous. People, say things like how the game it has one of the best stories ever written, and most of the fucking story is a bunch of generic anime nonsense. And even like a lot of the alternate endings and whatnot, a lot of them are just jokes. Like they just threw the shit in the game just to make the player laugh or something. I guess that's what the intention was, but highly overrated, but good game nonetheless.
Okay, next on is Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2.
In between, I have a lot of fucking issues with that game. And to be honest, the reason people played Xenoverse, the real reason people play Xenoverse is because there hasn't been another Tenkaichi game in over a decade. So, and actually in over 15 years. So that's why Dragon Ball Sparking Zero is such a big deal, because we're finally getting another Tenkaichi game. Had that shit came out years ago, no one would have played fucking Xenoverse. Not to mention, they keep releasing fucking DLC for that game, and that game came out in 2017. I've never seen anything like that. It's fucking insanity. Like they could have made a sequel to that game by now. We could have already had a Xenoverse 3. It's like stop making DLC for that fucking game, dude. Like it's ridiculous. Anyway,
Doom.
good game.
Batman Arkham Knight.
Good game that has a lot of problems. Batman Arkham Knight really suffers from its story more than anything else. The story turns out to be very disappointing by the end, and the alternate ending makes it worse because they want you to hunt down 200 fucking Riddler trophies or whatever the number was, and doing all that is for like a 30-second fucking alternate ending that's basically nonsensical and that doesn't explain itself. I didn't even understand the ending to Batman Arkham Knight until Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League came out. Like, so that should tell you all you need to know about how badly they screwed that up. That is a good game nonetheless.
Okay. Assassin's Creed Syndicate.
Good game.
Dead Space 3.
Bad game.
Dead Space 2.
Good game.
Dead Space 1.
Good game.
Resident Evil 6.
Bad game. One of the worst pieces of shit I've ever played in my life.
Resident Evil Village.
Good game.
Persona 5 Strikers.
I want to say that is a good game, but it does not stand up to the original Persona 5 at all. Not in any way, shape, or form. And if you notice, like, if you look at some of the other, like, Persona 5, like, spin-offs, they don't even, like, recognize, including this one, because this one's, like, Strikers is a direct sequel to the original Persona 5, but even if you, like, pay attention to, like, Persona 5 Tacticia, or whatever the fuck it's called, the Persona 5 mobile game that's coming out or some shit, that they're finally releasing on console and PC, these other games don't really, like, acknowledge the royal version of Persona 5, which is strange. Never really understood that. But anyway, good game.
The Medium.
Bad game.
Cyberpunk 2077.
Bad game, but it does have a good story. I do like the story and the characters in that game, but bad game.
Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales.
Good game.
Watch Dogs Legion.
Bad game.
Alien Isolation.
Bad game. The people that like that game, I don't understand how they don't understand why that game flopped. The game is too fucking long for a survival horror game. The objectives are repetitive. Go here and hit that switch. Go there and complete this small objective that you could have done yourself. Go here and do this. Go here and do that. Overpowered enemies. The alien is fucking annoying because you can't kill the fucker, and as soon as you're spotted by it, it's an automatic death, and then you gotta start from the fucking checkpoint. Bad game. Bad game.
Okay. Far Cry 5.
Bad game. One of the worst endings, one of the most disrespectful endings I've ever seen in a video game. Bad guy wins, and there's nothing you can do about it. Basically, a big fuck you from Ubisoft if you spend the time to make it all the way to the end of the game. It's so bad that they later released a sequel spin-off with Far Cry New Dawn, and I have yet to play through that one, but that just goes to show how much they fucked up with that.
Persona 5 Royal.
Good game. One of the best, actually the best RPG that was released last generation.
Ghost of Tsushima.
Good game. The gameplay is uninspired, and the open world is too big and it's empty as shit. But what really saves Ghost of Tsushima is the story. There's a reason why there's a live action adaptation that's in the works from the John Wick director Chad Stahelski that's in development right now. I don't know how they're going to take something like Ghost of Tsushima and make it a 2-hour movie, but good luck.
Last of Us Part 2.
Bad game. I did not play that game. Like, the first time I played it, I couldn't believe how disappointed I was. It was like Star Wars The Last Jedi levels of disappointment, which is like, you play it and then after you're done with it, you can't believe how bad it actually is. Like, you have to, I guess the best way I could explain it is the stages. You're in grief. It's like stages of denial. Your brain, like, tries to comprehend the fact that it's so bad, and you keep telling yourself, no, it was good, it's like, no, it wasn't good, it was a piece of shit, it's a bad game, terrible sequel, what the fuck were they thinking? Yeah, I didn't play that game again until earlier last year. I didn't play it again for a good 3 to 4 years, and then when I went back to it, I started paying attention more to the gameplay, and I was like, this is actually really good. Like the gameplay is fantastic, but the story still sucks ass. So it's still a bad game nonetheless. It's just yeah, The Last of Us Part Two is Naughty Dog royally fucked up with that. It's perfect example of how awards and accolades and don't really mean anything, and video game journalists just they've lost the plot. You can't trust these people anymore.
All right, Doom Eternal.
Good game. The multiplayer is one of the worst I've ever seen. The battle mode or whatever. Please do not put that shit in Doom Dark Ages. Don't bring that shit back.
Mm-hmm.
Just leave that on the cutting room floor because it did not work in the last game.
Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Uh, in between. That's probably the most 50-50 game that I've ever played. There's some really, really good things about the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then those things are completely balanced with everything that's bad about it. But I can't say it's like good, but I can't say it's bad either. It's like it's straight down the middle with that. So yeah,
All right, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot.
good game.
Neo 2.
Bad game. Same thing as Neo 1. My comments aren't going to change. It's a guilty pleasure whenever I play Neo 2, but it's a bad game.
Resident Evil 3.
Good game. Terrible remake.
Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Good game.
Gears 5.
Bad game. I actually played through that game again earlier this year, and yeah, it's a piece of shit. Still a piece of shit.
Man of Medan.
Oh, Man of Medan.
Madonna.
Yeah, bad game.
Control.
Good game. Story was ridiculous, nonsensical and weird, but good game.
Star Wars Battlefront 2.
Good game.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Bad game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has a really good story. The Cassandra character is one of the best protagonists in the series as far as the writing goes. Very, very likable character. Some of the exploration is cool and whatnot, and the art direction's great, but Jesus, man, talk about going way overboard. Game's too fucking big. It's too long. Even the DLC is like, my God, what the hell were y'all thinking, dude? It's just like it's a game that never wants to fucking end. It took me because I actually played it again on PC back in 2022 from start to finish. It took me an entire month to complete the achievement list again, and I was skipping all the cutscenes. That's how big
Wow.
that fucking game is. It's ridiculous. But yeah, bad game. Fuck that game.
Okay. Wolfenstein Youngblood.
Yeah, bad game.
Assassin's Creed Origins.
Bad game. Great story, but still a bad game.
Sekiro Shadows Die Twice.
Bad game. This is what I'm talking about with From Software. They just keep releasing the same fucking game over and over and over and over again, and take 2 steps forward, 4 steps back, 2 steps forward, 4 steps back. It's like I'm just done. I'm done.
Devil May Cry 5.
Good game.
Dead or Alive 6.
Bad game. They had the audacity, Team Ninja and Koei Tecmo, they had the audacity to market the game and claim to say that they were trying to make a serious fighting game, then did a full 360 when the game actually came out day one and announced the fucking season pass or whatever the fuck it was, then tried to do the same thing they did with Dead or Alive 5 and started spam, hoarding all of these DLC costume packs. These cosmetic costumes with the girls in the bikinis and shit, and players weren't having it. Then they went a step too far and tried to, this was the final nail in the coffin, they tried to charge people that changed the hair color of the characters in the game. I look back at that and I'm like, y'all just like deliberately killed that game. Because they were working on Dead or Alive 7 and that shit got canceled because I think someone left the studio or some shit when that happened, the project was just canceled. So I think Dead or Alive 6 may be the last entry in that series, and I don't miss it at all.
Metro Exodus.
Bad game. Fuck that game.
Kingdom Hearts 3.
Bad game. There's some really charming aspects of Kingdom Hearts 3, but it barely had a story in it, and when you get to the ending is clearly rushed. They didn't fucking even try to give you a satisfying ending, and they left it on a cliffhanger. After 13 years of people waiting for this game, you're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger so you can fucking spam more Kingdom Hearts games in the future. It's like, man, fuck y'all, fuck y'all. And then the Remind DLC was, I played that for the first time recently on PC, because the PC version comes with Remind, and they tried to put some of the other characters at the end of the game, put them in as playable characters. Characters like Kairi, characters like Roxas, characters like Riku, and it's you could tell how rushed it is because none of them are anywhere near as powerful as Sora is by the end of the game, because they're not, they're basically cameos. And then they have the Organization 13 data fights, and those things are overpowered. A lot of those fights are worse than some of the hardest Souls bosses that I've played. Just fucking terrible, horrible. Fuck that game.
Resident Evil 2.
Good game.
The Evil Within.
Good game.
The Order 1886.
Bad game. Actually, they just shut down because years ago, Ready at Dawn was purchased by Facebook, and so they were making games for Meta, as it's called now, and they just literally this past week shut down Ready at Dawn officially. It's sad, but it is what it is.
Yep. Red Dead 2.
Good game, but Rockstar's game design is highly, highly outdated. They need to update their fucking game design big time for Grand Theft Auto 6, or otherwise they're going to get the same fucking critical response, which I guess it won't even matter because people blindly buy their games in mass anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how that's going to fucking play out, but that they, if they care about their games from a quality standpoint, they need to update their shit, because their game design is highly, highly outdated. You shouldn't have to fucking tap a button to get a character to run, to run in place in your game. I mean, this shit was stupid years ago when they were doing it back on the PlayStation 2, and they keep doing it, and I don't understand why. That's just one example, but yeah, if it were not for that story, yeah, it would go in the bad game category.
God of War.
Are we talking about God of War 2018?
Yeah, it has to be because you're talking shit on it in the comments.
Oh yeah, well, bad game. One of the worst games I've ever played. One of the worst reboots I've ever seen. I'm not even going to go into it. It's just going to make me upset.
Mass Effect Andromeda.
Bad game. They have the Mass Effect 5 or whatever that's still in development right now, and they have some of the original Mass Effect developers working on it. So I really, really hope that they pull that off, because Mass Effect is my favorite RPG franchise. We haven't had a good Mass Effect game since Mass Effect 3, which was back in 2011. We haven't had a great Mass Effect game since 2010. I think Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010, so... Actually, I think Mass Effect 3 came out in 2012, so excuse me on that, but Mass Effect 2 came out in 2010, and we haven't had a great one since then. But yeah, Mass Effect Andromeda, that shit was a fucking disaster. Goddamn mess.
Okay. Assassin's Creed Unity.
Bad game. That was actually the beginning of the end for the Assassin's Creed franchise when it comes to quality. I think that series, they released one more good game, which was Syndicate, and then after that it was just off a cliff.
Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain.
Bad game. It's funny to me how a lot of people defend Hideo Kojima. They defend him to death on what happened between him and Konami. When, if you read up on what happened with Metal Gear Solid 5, you'll see that Hideo Kojima is the reason why that game failed. because Konami gave him a set budget for the game, and then he blew the budget on bullshit like re-recording songs, hiring people he didn't have paying for things he didn't have the money for, creating an entire engine, wasted a lot of money on creating a whole engine that he didn't even need, to make the game in the first place. Then, when he went back to Konami, it's like, hey, I need more money. Konami said, nah, man, you cut off. We just gave you a big budget. Fuck is wrong with you? And, as a result, he had to meet the deadline. Konami forced him to push it out, and what resulted is a fucking overrated ass piece of shit with an empty ass open world. Second half of the game is literally just the first half of the game repeated, just on a harder difficulty, which is crazy. It's fucking insane to me that he did that. The story is unfinished, and he never went back to finish it. And maybe that's actually a good thing, because the story in that game is not good anyway. Then he put things in there he shouldn't have put in there, like the quiet character, and then gave a fucking stupid ass reason for why she's only wearing a fucking brassiere in the game with no fucking shirt. He claimed that she breathes through her skin, so that's the reason why. And then he got pushback for that comment from other developers in the industry who basically called him a child. It's like Hideo Kojima just lost his fucking mind. Anyway.
Okay. So next game we have is Kingdom Hearts.
Good game.
Call of Duty Ghost.
In between. I only covered the campaign. The campaign starts off really good. It ratchets up with the quality, and then it hits a brick wall, and then it basically falls flat on its face by the end. And it's like the game didn't know what it wanted to be. Like, do you want to be a sci-fi game? Do you want to be a war game? Do you want to be a stealth, tactical, like squad-based game? Like, what kind of game do you want to be? It's like, I don't think Infinity Ward really knew what kind of game they wanted to make, and it showed. So.
Okay. What about Infamous?
In between again. Infamous had quite a few design issues. Now, it was a decent stepping stone for the sequels to it, but for that first game, yeah, I would say in between.
What about Spider-Man?
Again, in between. It's clearly far outdated now. So it's an old game. It's a movie tie-in. It's about 5 hours long. It has some issues like with the later levels in the game regarding the stealth and everything. It's a pretty stiff ass game to play, but again, it's old as shit. So.
Okay, now we're on Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin.
Bad game. So bad I couldn't even finish it. I put that shit down. I was like, nope, I'm not doing this.
Halo 2.
Good game. One of the best sequels ever.
Halo Combat Evolved.
Good game. Launched an entire franchise.
Silent Hill 2.
Good game. One of the best survival horror games ever. One of the best games ever, period. Fantastic story. It's probably one of the most mature stories I've seen in the medium of video games as a whole. Really looking forward to the remake. That's getting a lot of flack, but we'll see what happens when the remake comes out.
Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion.
Bad game.
The Quarry. Oh wait, did you want to explain on that one? My bad.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say that with Crisis Core, like when I went to play the remastered version, which is what Reunion is, I hadn't played the first game in a long time, like the original version, and so when I went to play the remaster, I was actually like kind of surprised at how bad it was. I was like, maybe the original wasn't that great in the first place. I don't know. Anyway.
Okay, The Quarry.
I want to say in between on that one. Yeah, in between.
Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater.
Good game. A lot of people say that's the best Metal Gear Solid game, and I can understand that argument. I personally don't think so, at least from a gameplay perspective. From a story perspective, yes, it's the best Metal Gear Solid game in the entire series. Mainly because it's the first chronologically in the series, so it doesn't have the issue that the other games have when it comes to being convoluted and including all these different references and shit that you wouldn't understand if you played the other ones. So it does benefit from being the first chronologically. I think that's part of the reason why the story is so good in it. From a gameplay perspective, I disagree that it's the best one, but good game nonetheless. Looking forward to the remake.
Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty.
Good game, but overrated.
Armored Core 6.
Good game. What really saved Armored Core 6 is the end game. The end game content. Basically, New Game Plus is what saved it. Yeah, the New Game Plus saved that game like no one's business. Because if there wasn't a New Game Plus, it would go in the bad game category.
Diablo 4.
Good game for the story alone. If you look at the game as a whole, not so much. But the 20, I think the story was like, what, 22, 24 hours long or something like that. The story was really good. I enjoyed the bosses and everything. Gameplay was fun. It's just the in-game content that's the problem with Diablo 4 because it's a live service game, basically.
Final Fantasy 16.
Bad game. Square Enix needs to stop with these Final Fantasy games because they keep getting worse with each one.
Last of Us Part 1.
Good game. One of the best games ever.
Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Good game.
Forspoken.
Bad game.
Resident Evil 4.
Good game.
Hogwarts Legacy.
Good game.
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Bad game.
And what about Part 1?
Bad game.
Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
Bad game.
Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix.
In between.
Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
I wish that one turned out better. Bad game.
Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Good game.
Dead Space 1.
Good game.
Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets.
Good game.
Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone.
Good game.
Resistance Fall of Man.
Good game.
X2 Wolverine's Revenge.
Bad game.
Hulk.
Bad game.
The Callisto Protocol.
I want to say that's in between. I think a lot of people really jumped on that game for some reason. A lot of people didn't really get or like or care for the combat system, and I get that, but I personally appreciated it for how different it was. But I understand why people don't like it. So
God of War Ragnarok.
Good game. Huge improvement over the 2018 game. A lot of people complained about how similar it was. It's like, of course it's fucking similar. It's a sequel, goddammit. What do you expect? But no, they really improved the storytelling. There are certain things that was in Ragnarok that they put in that they should have put in the 2018 game. I appreciated certain things that they threw in there, and they greatly improved the combat. Well, I wouldn't want to say greatly improved, but they made some notable improvements with the combat system, and the bosses especially were a huge improvement over 2018. No longer did the game have any bosses that jumped on screen and I didn't know who the fuck they were or why they were there. It had no bosses just randomly pop out of the game's ass, and fucking health bar just randomly appears on screen, and oh, I'm in a boss fight now, and now I don't know what the fuck this thing is and why I'm fighting it. That's the kind of bullshit we had in God of War 2018. Ragnarok didn't have any of that. And some of the bosses were actually really good. Some of them were some of the best in the entire series. Even with the older games, the two fights in particular, Odin and especially Heimdall, fantastic boss fights in that game. So yeah, good game.
Okay, Gotham Knights.
Bad game, and probably the worst performance I've ever seen on PC. I don't understand why they or how they thought releasing that shit was acceptable. It was not at all. I've never had a game crash on me so many times in the middle of a play session. It's unbelievable.
What about Scorn?
Bad game. Man, the fucking comments I got on that fucking video, man, I was ready to turn the fucking comments off on that bitch. I had one person go up on there and claim they felt the same, Scorn gave them the same feeling that they got from Dead Space, and I was like, how dare you fucking compare
I didn't know
Scorn?
people like that game.
Yeah, it's fucking madness. I was like, how dare you fucking compare Scorn to fucking Dead Space? You must be out of your fucking mind, dude. I had so many fucking retards going up on that fucking video talking about how good the fucking game is, and you just didn't understand it. It's like, there was nothing to understand. It's a piece of shit. Story was non-existent. It didn't make any fucking sense. What is wrong with you people? Anyway, bad game.
Returnal?
I want to say that's in between. Returnal has a lot of fucking issues. It does. It's a very, very flawed game. Yeah, no, I don't agree with the fanboys who say, oh, it's great. It's like, no, it's not fucking great. It's far from great. But I also don't agree with the people who say, oh, it's just bad. It's a piece of shit. It's terrible. What the fuck is this? Although I understand why they feel that way. But, Returnal, it has the gameplay really saves it from being a total piece of shit. What really drags it down is the story, because the story, it really doesn't have much of a story there, and what's there is purposely left ambiguous at the end. It's left up to interpretation, and the developers did that shit on purpose. It's intentional. So I think that that's really a problem with it, and the roguelike stuff. The game didn't even need that. Had they gotten rid of that, the game would have been far more successful. It would have been received better, not just by moronic gaming journalists who have their head up their ass, but general consumers would have found the game to be much more enjoyable, and maybe they would have been able to greenlight a sequel. But as of right now, Housemarque, they're not even working on a sequel to Returnal. I guess it's
Okay.
just a one and done type of thing.
What about Final Fantasy 13?
Bad game.
Gears of War?
Good game.
Shadow Warrior 3?
Bad game. And I was surprised at how disappointing that game was. Like how short it was, how much was missing from Shadow Warrior 2. I know they went back and updated it and put more in it, but I personally haven't gone back to it ever since I covered it. Highly, highly disappointing. It doesn't even remotely live up to Shadow Warrior 2. And if I recall, you played Shadow Warrior 2, right?
Yeah, I think I did. I'm pretty sure I did play Shadow Warrior 2.
I
I think I had a blast with it.
yeah, because I remember you and I having a discussion about it one time. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, Shadow Warrior 3, man, they didn't even fucking try. Then the fucking character they had in there, the Yang or Young or whatever the fuck his name was, Wang. That motherfucker's
Mhm.
annoying. It's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, I just wanted to mute the motherfucker. It's like, this is an Asian racial stereotype that you have in here. Like, what the fuck? Like, what are you guys doing? Anyway, it's just nonsense. Bad game.
This one I'm interested to hear your thoughts on since I seen it but never looked much into it. Ghostwire Tokyo?
Bad game. I'm sorry. Yeah, that game was just weird. Like, it was like this first person shooter, but it wasn't like, it didn't really fully commit to being a first person shooter. And it was like this, like, part horror, part first person shooter, part open world, just weird fucking game that, well, it's like, who is this? What is this for? The story was like random, and it's like, what the fuck? I'm surprised they had the balls to release that. It's like, y'all should have just done The Evil Within 3. And so, after I did the retro, I haven't gone back to play it. Um,
Damn.
yeah,
Alright. So now we have Hitman 3.
good game. You actually put me on this series, and I'm glad that you did, because the games are actually really good. They're fun. They have a comedic tone to them too, because of like
Yeah.
the kills are like ridiculous. It's like, but they're ridiculous in a good way. And the level design in these games are just, they're really fucking good. Like they really force you to like interact with your environment and interact with NPCs, and they're a lot of fun. The third game was really good. I enjoyed a lot of the maps and shit that they had in there. So
Okay. So now that leaves us with Elden Ring.
Bad game. One of the worst pieces of shit I've ever played. Probably the most overrated fucking game I've ever played. I have not after I did my retro for Elden Ring, which is the longest retrospective I've ever done, because I think that video is like 2 hours and 30 minutes long. It's basically like feature film length. Um, After I finished Elden Ring and I did the videos that the video coverage that I was going to do for it, I uninstalled the game and I have not gone back to it. It's been 2 years since I've even touched that game. Like I can go on my Steam right now, I can pull up Elden Ring and it'll tell me exactly what was the last, when the last time was that I played it. It says March 29, 2022. That was the last time that I opened Elden Ring. That was the last time I touched that fucking game. And I refuse to do any coverage on the DLC. I will not play the fucking DLC. The DLC, like I was reading up on the DLC, and they just their fan base is so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable. The fucking the developers like what's his name, Hidetaka Miyazaki, the president of From Software. First you're defending like your garbage ass fucking game design, saying well, our games are meant for a certain audience and blah 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 blah. Same shit they always say. Then they release some nonsense where people who put hundreds of hours into the game, their time basically was wasted, because the only way you can get through the DLC, the only way you can level up in the DLC and be strong enough to fight the bosses, is you have to pick up these specific items that are found in very specific locations, and that's the only way that you can level up. Like they put like a secondary progression system in there, and that's crazy to me because all the gaming journalists were just lushing over it, giving it fucking ridiculous like perfect scores and shit, like 10 out of 10s across the fucking board. You go up on Metacritic, there's not a single mediocre review, not a single negative review. It's the perfect example of what's wrong with this industry, the gaming industry. It's unbelievable. And then Miyazaki's full of shit. From Software's full of shit, because then they release a fucking patch. They release a patch that makes the game easier. They made the bosses easier. They nerfed them. So you knew that your bosses were overpowered, and you released the shit anyway because your fucking fan base are so fucking stupid that they want these masochistic hardcore players. They want the shit to be so fucking hard that the game is practically unplayable. And then you go and you release first you're saying that, well, we make games for this audience, but then you fucking contradict yourself by releasing a patch that nerfs your bullshit because it's bullshit. You have all these players that are complaining about the shit and giving you these negative reviews on Steam and on Metacritic and other places, and finally they cave, they give in. It's like, okay, we'll release a patch, we'll fix it. And they were doing the same shit with the main game. They did the same thing with the main game. Let's release a patch, and it's like, well, shit, I already played the fucking game. I already played through the game, so that didn't do anything for me. For as an early adopter. And then they charge like what, for fucking $40 for this shit? Like, fuck y'all, man. Can't stand Elden Ring, man, or its fan base, or fucking From Software. Fuck all three. Done with that shit.
Okay, so what about Horizon Forbidden West?
Good game. Not as good as the first, but good.
Sifu?
I want to say in between. They did go back and release like some patches that make the game easier, and once I rebought the game on Steam, I went back through it, I think sometime last year. It's funny how, like, cause like when that game came out, it was made for a hardcore audience, similar to the Souls games, and that was everyone's problem with it. People were dropping that game like crazy. They couldn't even make it past the second stage. I played through the entire game, and I was like, when I did my retro on it, I was like, this shouldn't be as hard as it is. Like, Y'all, this is just bad game design. Why are y'all doing this? Like you're killing your game before it even has a chance to, to become successful because you're targeting this audience that's not going to help you, not really going to help you. I don't understand why you would do this. And then finally, they release a patch and they make the game easier, and it's like it fixes the fucking game. The game is actually, it's actually fun, which is fucking insane to me. So like when I went through it last year, it's like, I wasn't frustrated like I was, like just endlessly, angered like I was the first time I played it, because they released the patch and made the game easier. And it's like, they didn't make it easy to the point where it's just like a walk in the park or anything like that, but it wasn't this thing that just beat you over the head every time you like made a simple mistake, or you missed an animation or whatever, or you were hit from something in the game, like an enemy or an object, or you didn't lose like half your fucking health. I hope that studio really learns from that shit, because had they released the game as it is now in its current state, it would have been a lot more successful.
So what about Halo Infinite?
I only covered the campaign. I didn't. The only part of the multiplayer I played was the beta. I played the beta. I haven't played, gone back to actually play the multiplayer, simply because, life is busy. I have other things to do. I have other games to cover and shit in my free time. So I haven't had the time to really go back and play the multiplayer for Halo Infinite. I know a lot of people don't like Halo Infinite because of the multiplayer. I can't comment on it. I only really played the campaign, and the campaign's good. It could be a lot worse than what it turned out to be, since it's like the first open world Halo game. But no, it was good. It was basically a big retcon to Halo 5, and they needed to do that because Halo 5 nearly ruined the entire series. Good game.
Okay. What about Far Cry 6?
Good game. Not great. I think Far Cry 6 is the perfect example of been there, done that. Ubisoft is running out of ideas with that franchise, and I know they have Far Cry 7 that's in development right now. They really need to come up with some new ideas. Otherwise, it's not going to be good for that franchise.
Okay. Next we have Tales of Arise.
Bad game, purely because of the story. Horrible fucking story. Horrible. Just bad. Then they have some pedophile shit where the main character is like hundreds of years old, and then the lead female character is like fucking 19 or something. I was like, man, fuck y'all, man. Fucking stupid. Stupid.
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Good game. I feel sorry for that development studio and what happened to that, because it didn't really sell that well, because we just can't, about it when that game came out. It came out at the wrong time. When that game came out, we had just gotten done with Marvel's Avengers, which I think Marvel's Avengers came out in 2019. I think it was 20. It was, or I think it was 20. It was, no, I think that game came out in 2020. So I think it came out the previous year. And after that disaster, people did not fucking trust Square Enix, and so a lot of people thought that Guardians of the Galaxy was going to turn out to suck. I always thought it was going to turn out to be a good game. Like when I saw the gameplay trailer and shit for it, I was like, no, this is going to be good. Like what are y'all talking about? And it came out and it was great. It turned out to be a great game. But unfortunately, people didn't fucking buy it. And then Square Enix, they sold Eidos Montreal, they sold Tomb Raider, they sold Marvel, their rights to make Marvel games. I don't know if we'll ever get a sequel to that. I hope we do.
Very last thing on the list is Deathloop.
Good game. I thought that game was going to suck ass when it was coming out. A lot of people didn't like Deathloop. There was like, this is overrated, and yeah, it was highly overrated. It got perfect tens from pretty much every major gaming publication. The game is nowhere near that good. But the story is actually, it was a good story. It was well written. The only thing that doesn't work with Deathloop really is the ending. The ending is highly unsatisfying, and then it just cuts off at the end. Like they didn't even bother to give you a proper ending. And I was like, so I did all this just for this, you know? Yeah, I haven't really gone back to play it again, but I would go back and play it again. It's a good game, good game. Wait a minute. Did you I don't recall you saying anything about Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League. That wasn't up on there, I don't think.
I didn't see that on the list.
Oh well, that game sucks. Bad game. So, all right. So there are some games that we did miss. I just decided to do like a separate small recording, and I'll just put it all in the same video. So I gave you the updated list here for the games that we did miss. So you can just feel free to go through them all.
Okay, yes. First we have Demon Slayer Hinokami Chronicles.
Bad game.
Next we have Marvel Spider-Man 2,
Good game.
Alan Wake 2,
Good game.
Mortal Kombat 11,
Bad game. Yeah. Probably one of the worst games I've played over the last 5 or so years.
Mortal Kombat 1,
Bad game. I consider Mortal Kombat 1 to be worse than 11, which is saying something because 11's a piece of dog shit. So,
Starfield,
bad game, and easily the most disappointing game that came out of 2023. Man, I still remember the Summer Games showcase for that game last year, and the trailer that they released, making all these promises and false hopes. Then the game came out, and it was just this outdated mess that just fell flat on its face. Nothing was exceptional about that game. Absolutely nothing. From the combat system to the exploration to the graphics. They even had they still had the encumbered shit, like if you pick up too many items and, oh, now you're overweight, you need to drop some items. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Bullshit.
Marvel's Avengers,
Bad game. And I will never forgive Square Enix for that. Ever.
COD Advanced Warfare,
Good game. And I only played the campaigns for the Call of Duty games. I only covered the campaigns for all the Call of Duty games. I didn't cover the multiplayer. I didn't play the multiplayer. I don't give a shit about the multiplayer or the zombies mode. So this is just for the campaigns for the Call of Duty stuff.
Call of Duty Black Ops 3,
Bad game.
COD Infinite Warfare,
Good game. Definitely deserved more than more positive reception than what it received.
COD World War 2,
Good game.
COD Modern Warfare,
Good game. Fantastic reboot.
COD Black Ops Cold War,
Good game, and possibly I would say within the top 5 Call of Duty games narratively speaking.
Call of Duty Vanguard,
Bad game. A lot of good ideas, but they didn't mesh together very well.
COD Modern Warfare 2,
Bad game.
COD Modern Warfare 3.
Bad game. Horrible game. Horrible.
Last one is Grand Blue Fantasy Relink.
Good game. And that should be the end of the list through the last retro that I covered, or the last game that I covered, the last retro video that I've made. This list may be updated again over time. It really depends on what I do next on the channel. This is again a list of all of the games that I've covered on the channel from the very beginning through till now. That's the end of the list. Mike, I just want to thank your participation in helping me put this together.
No problem at all.
All right, and I'm looking forward to covering more games soon.